Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this webinar targeting Horizon Europe and especially ethics in Horizon Europe proposal. I'm Rebecca Damat from Lux Innovation, and I'm going to run you through ethics in Horizon Europe today. I apologize in advance if you hear strange noise. I am in Belval, south of Luxembourg, and there are ongoing works on the site, so you might sometime hear some noise. I hope you will still be able to listen and to follow entirely what we will talk about today. And let's go. So within Lux Innovation, I work within the European RDI support team, and we are specifically the national contact point for Horizon Europe. So our role is to inform and support Luxembourg applicants throughout their journey with Horizon Europe. And this goes from monitoring the political agenda, suggesting the most relevant funding, helping in identifying the structure of the project, also helping in searching for partners and consortium. We also support during the entire grant application, but also during the entire lifetime of the project, if you have questions on legal or financial or whatever question could raise during the Horizon Europe journey. We also offer training and workshop for our ecosystem, and this training is part of this offer we do have. So today we will talk about the ethics in Horizon Europe proposal, and this is the agenda. I see it a bit like a crime scene. So we will first see the scene of ethics, then the clues. What are the ethics? What do we talk about? The motive, why do we talk about it? And the method, how to target it, how it is targeted, and the mean, how to target it, some kind of tips you can take away at home for your next proposal preparation. Before I continue, on the right side, you have a chat box and a question box where you are welcome to introduce yourself and chat. But also, if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A box. There will be a dedicated time at the end of this webinar to answer your questions. So I should be talking for around 40 minutes, and then you will have enough time. There will be 20 minutes left on the 1 hour slot we have if you have questions. So what is the scene today? What are we talking about? We are talking about ethics, and we find it first in the regulation that establishes Horizon Europe. So in the law, basically. And first within Article 19, which is specifically dedicated to ethics, where you can see that actions, so projects, that are carried out under the Horizon Europe program or any funding program of the European Union, that these actions should comply with ethical principles and relevant union, national and international law, including the Charter and the European Convention for the Protection of Human Rights and Fundamental Freedoms. So you can see from this first sentence that ethics is highly intertwined with human rights. So this is what you need to keep in mind, the human rights first. The article continues and gives you a bit of an idea what you need to think and keep in mind as well when you design your project and you think about the ethics, such as the principle of proportionality. Is the action carried the right way? Are we not doing too much? Are we just doing what is sufficient to achieve the action in the end? the right to privacy, the right to the protection of personal data, the right to the physical and mental integrity of a person, the right to non-discrimination, the need to ensure protection of the environment, and high level of human health protections. So this is the first scene regarding ethics where it is defined first. Then at the second level, we can find ethics as well within the model grant agreement that define the agreement between the project consortium, the European Commissions, and others if need be. It's also a legal framework, and there you can find ethics linked to research integrity in Article 14. So the article goes a bit the same. The action should be carried following ethical principle and within application of the EU international and national law. But it goes also a bit further. It gives you more information also about what ethics is, and notably that the action carried under and funded under Horizon Europe, here we talk about, should be only for civil application. This goes especially for specific AI, civil security related calls, for instance, but you never know, it can happen everywhere, and this is what ethics is. It is everywhere in every field of research. So another clue on what ethics is that beneficiaries must commit to and ensure the respect of basic EU values, and there we have human dignity, freedom, democracy, equality, the rule of law and human rights, and the rights of the minority. Within the legal framework, there's also information of what ethics is about in the sense of what is not financed and what is not funded under Horizon Europe here. So all activity that will be about human cloning for reproductive purposes, activities intended to modify the genetic heritage of human beings, and that could make the modification heritable, but also activities that aim at creating human embryos only for the purpose of research or the purpose of stem cell procurement, or also somatic cell nuclear transfer. These activities will not be financed. This is a clear red line from the legal framework of the program. You have also complementary information within the model grant agreement that activities that lead to the destruction of human embryos, this will not be funded as well. This is a no-go. There's a slight possibility. So for research on human stem cells, adult and embryonic, they can be financed, but it depends on the content of the scientific proposal, but also on the legal framework of the member states involved. So this information is important because it means that if an activity that raises ethical questions is eligible within one European member state country, and a proposal, a project aims at doing this activity, the project can be potentially, it may be financed only if this activity is done within the member state where it is legal. So it means that if you want to do an activity that raises ethical question that is not legal in one country, but that is legal in another country, you can do it only in the country where it is legal and not where it is not legal. So the first layer of legal aspect you need to check is the national aspect, and then the EU, and then international aspect. But whatever you do within a national regulation framework, it has to comply also with the European and international regulation. So these are the red lines, if you want, regarding ethics and what is to be funded or not. So we have the framework, the legal framework, and now we want to know what are exactly the ethic issues. And we have 9 of them. And these are human embryonic stem cells and human embryos, human participants, human cells and tissues, personal data, animal, non-EU countries, environment and health and safety, artificial intelligence. This is a novelty from Horizon Europe. It was not considered an ethical issue before within Horizon 2020. So this is something new that you would need to keep in mind should you have include artificial intelligence within your project. And then there's other ethical issues. So these are what are considered ethical issues. And then you have the cross-cutting issue, underlying issue, and the question of potential misuse of results. So misuse is that, as the name say, you use the results, not you, but the results that the project achieve at the end can be used for something that is ethically questionable, or in terms of security, it is questionable. So, for instance, we have all the knowledge, materials, or technologies that could be used for criminal or terrorist purposes. They will be organized, they will be put under the other ethical issues and misuses. So there will be some work to do, some mitigation plan to have on these kind of issues. Also, the research outcomes that could result in the development of chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear weapons, or any method for delivery. This is, for instance, if you work on a project on space launches, and these kind of launches then can be converted for launching a missile. So this is something you would need to keep in mind and to consider. So you see there, you will need really to think broadly and think of all possible outcome, even if it seems impossible. So continuing on the possible misuse of result, we have technologies that are about developing surveillance and that could end up in curtailing human rights and civil liberties. Speaks for itself. Projects and result outcomes that involve minority or vulnerable groups, or that develop social, behavioral, or genetic profiling technologies that then also could be misused for stigmatization, discrimination against harassment, intimidation against people, and projects that could develop materials, method, technologies, but also knowledge that could harm humans, animals, the environments, if the project outcomes are released, modified, or enhanced. So this is the what is highlighted, flagged as research that could lead to misuse in the end, and that should be targeted within the ethical self-assessment and ethical points within Horizon Europe proposal that we will see in a minute. Then I talk also about misuse within on security perspective. So when you will do your ethic assessment, self-assessment, there will be also the security self-assessment. It is not the topic of today, but this part is quite connected, so that's why I'm including it. Some research outputs could result in ethical misuse, but also on the security perspective. So, For instance, if you generate knowledge, materials, technologies, well, that are used then or could be adapted for criminal terrorist activities or the development of chemical, biological weapons, this is an ethical issue, a misuse, but also a security misuse, a security issue. So this is something you also need to keep in mind. So sometimes they are interlinked. So then when we talk about ethics, it is sometimes seen as something that is to be done at the last minute, that is not necessary. But there's a motive, there's a reason why ethics is important. And the Commission asks you to consider ethics and to incorporate ethics and ethical principles when you do research. So integrity and ethics, they are really understood as key component and prerequisite for having excellent research and innovation. This is the first point why ethics is important and part of the project proposal and should be part of your project thinking and design. The key goal for ethics, having ethics and raising questions on ethic issues, it's to build and sustain trust in science and innovation and to create, to encourage and to have more innovation if you want. Also, it's important to think of ethics and use it as a design approach, ethics by design approach, to have a meaningful and having added value to the research and the outcomes. The aim of a project within the Horizon Europe is to improve people's life, prospect and possibility. It's not to create security issues. It's really for the people, as the union is. So also, if you think about issue, as we said earlier, it's about human rights. So projects should enhance human rights and not curtail them. And then the last reason why we have ethics within the proposals is that ethics, the aim of thinking about ethics is to empower researchers to do the right thing for the society, to build the trust that are grounded in our values, European values, and fundamental rights such as human dignity, privacy, protection, and security, the human rights. So this is the underlying reason why ethics are important and they are highlighted, and you need to think about it when you think and work with them when you work on a project proposal and then a project. So how is ethics evaluated and understood within the proposal? This is what we will see now. So ethics issues, you see it first within the proposal in the part A under the form of ethics self-assessment. So you have a table with questions such as does your project uses human cells? Yes or no, you have to answer that. So it's called the ethics issue table, and well, I said you answer yes or no regarding of the questions and the project you are doing. In case you have to answer yes to one of the questions, you will then need to explain how you are going to deal with the ethics issues that you have flagged as yes, and how the way you will deal to with these issues, how is it in compliance with the regulation. And this will be done under the ethics self-assessment form that is under the part A. This ethics self-assessment form, it shows up if you answer yes to one of the questions. This is not the table as it is within the proposal, when you fill in your proposal, but it gives you an idea a bit of how it looks. So you have, for instance, the question, does this activity involve the use of substances or processes that may cause harm to the environment, animals, plants? Here within the environment and health and safety ethic issue. If you answer yes to the question, you will need to provide more information in the proposal, such as it is listed here, and you find it again in the guidance on how to complete your ethics self-assessment. So you will have to provide information such as the risk-benefit analysis, how you will apply precautionary principles, and also the detail on the safety measures you will implement on the project. Then you should have some documents ready to be provided to the Commission or to the ethics experts if they ask them to use. So these documents, you should have them ready already at the stage of the proposal. So you should not look for them when they are asked to you. You should really have them ready. So I have another couple of questions to give you an example type of question you can find. There will be the complete list under the guidance on how to fill in the ethic guidance, and we will give you the link later so you can check already for yourself when you think of developing and designing a project. For instance, under the artificial intelligence, questions that will be raised to you are: does this activity involve the development, deployment, use of artificial intelligence-based system? Could the AI-based system technique stigmatize or discriminate against people? Does the AI system technique interact, replace, influence human decision-making processes? These are the kind of questions you will have to think about. Also on personal data, for instance, does your activity involve the processing of personal data, the processing of previously collected personal data, or the export of personal data from the EU to non-EU countries? So it is very thorough, the questions. It really pushes you to think maybe outside of what you were thinking first designing the project, but it is quite necessary. So first you go with the ethic self-assessment, and then the Commission will do the ethics screening only to shortlisted proposal, main and reserve list. So this screening, ethics screening, is done by at least 2 evaluators that are external experts. So this is distinct from the scientific evaluation that is done and that result in knowing if a proposal is shortlisted or not. It's a second evaluation by another type of experts. The ethics screening will be done before the signature of the grant agreement. If the ethics issues raised within the projects are complex, more complex than well, basics, I would say the Commission, well, if the ethics issues are complex or serious, the proposal will go under a full ethics assessment. So a really thorough and complex ethic assessment. And in that case, so we were talking about the grant agreement, in that case of a full ethics assessment has to be carried, the signature of the grant agreement can be postponed a bit because the regulation says 5 months after the 3 months after the result is known to the participants. There it can be a bit extended. The deadline could be extended if there is a need of full ethics assessment, which is also heavy work. This ethics screening, it's important also to keep in mind that it will happen only if you answer yes during the ethics self-assessment. So if your project, you answer no at all the questions, there will be no ethics screening. So I've just told you that when a proposal, a project is considered complex or serious, raising complex or serious ethic issues, it has to undergo full ethic assessment. When can we say, when does the Commission consider that proposal is considered a serious or raising serious ethic issues? Fourth thing, it's when the project's activities have the potential to violate fundamental rights and freedom. The project has the potential to undermine fundamental EU values. The project also can have the potential to result in significant harm to researcher, research participant, public, animals, or the environment. And there's question regarding the integrity of the data and the information, including within the proposal, or the integrity of the practices of the researchers. In one of these cases, or all of these cases, the project is considered serious, raising serious ethic issues, and the proposal will undergo a full ethic assessment. The proposal can be considered complex if there's the involvement of the development or application of particularly complicated methods, technologies that are not sufficiently tested or that can give rise to uncertainty regarding the safety of participants, the impact of the results or the outcomes on fundamental rights or research integrity. If the project proposal raises significant issues at scales, for instance, the number of participants, or it's about controversial methods, high-risk technologies, or also the jurisdiction, so where the project activities will be carried. And the proposal will be considered complex in terms of ethics issues if it raises multiple intersectional ethic issues. So, for instance, if the project is about research into marginalized, vulnerable groups, and the outcomes will possibly expose them to risk of stigmatization, exclusion, etc. And then there's a third category. If the project and the issues, ethical issues raised, it can be considered serious or complex if the area of the research is of widespread debate among the scientists and the ethicists. Sorry, this is a hard word to pronounce for a French-speaking person. So if the issue, the topic of the research is still in debate, basically within the community, there will be a need for a full ethic assessment. If the project brings doubts about the proposal shows some kind of doubts about the capacity of the researcher or the participating institution to effectively mitigate the risk that will arise within the project's implementation, or if there is a high risk that the project outcomes could be misused. And finally, if the project proposal shows that there's an objective and serious lack of awareness of key ethical issues in the proposal, the project will be considered as serious or complex. So this last sentence means that if you don't consider ethics and ethical issues when designing your project, well, the Commission will go through a full ethics assessment, and you will have higher monitoring processes also later on, in order for the Commission to ensure that you respect ethics. So it's really important for you to not consider ethics at the last minute, but really through the entire development, designing of the project, also to show the seriousness of the project and the feasibility of what you want to achieve. So about the ethics screening, what are the possible outcomes? So it's a summary for you. During the self-assessment, you answer no to all the questions. You have an ethic clearance. There is no need for you for the proposal to go under a further ethics screening. At some point, you answer yes to the different questions during the ethics self-assessment. Then the next question the Commission will ask is, or the experts, they will ask is are they serious or complex ethics issues? If no, and the way you deal with ethic issues is in accordance with national, international, and European legislation. There is nothing more to be asked to you. You go again with an ethic clearance. If the project doesn't raise serious or complex ethic issues, but there is a need that rises during the project proposal or during the review of the need of appointing an external independent ethic advisor or board, then you would have a conditional ethic clearance. If the project is considered raising serious, complex ethic issues, there will be an ethic full assessment. So there you see also the potential gravity of the actions that could be carried out under the Horizon Europe project, and the importance of considering the ethics from the start. So about the ethics assessment, if you have as at the outcome of the ethic assessment from the Commission an ethic clearance, and there we speak about serious complex issues when the proposal raises serious complex issues. If you go with an ethic clearance, the grant agreement is finalized. Nothing more is asked of you, except, of course, following the ethics principles during your projects, the project lifetime. If you have a conditional ethic clearance from the Commission, you will have to develop an ethics summary report to the Commission, and some ethic requirements will need to be fulfilled for you. This will need to be done before the grant agreement is signed, and it can result, for instance, in the need to have an ethic work package with some ethics deliverables as part of the project reporting and monitoring. If what you provide the Commission with is not considered enough and there's a need for a second ethic assessment or still more information, there's the possibility to postpone the grant agreement so you have the time to comply and answer the questions the Commission may have. If at the end the Commission decides that there's no ethic clearance, then the proposal will not be funded. parts of the ethic requirement the Commission could ask you when you have a serious, complex project raising complex, serious issues. Part of the requirements are the ethics reviews. So during the lifetime of the project, the Commission will check that the ethics requirements are done in compliance with the legal frameworks and they are implemented within the projects. So you do not decide to do these ethics reviews. They are asked of you from the project officer or the agencies that is your point of contact within the Commission to for the project, and this ethic review is carried out by external ethic expert that can be up to 5. So there's really seriousness taken on the ethic issues at all level, not only at the proposal stage, but also during the project. And if your project is flagged as raising serious complex issues, there you have a kind of a strong framework to comply to regarding the ethical questions. So to summarize a bit how it goes, project proposal part A, you do the ethics self-assessment. If you answer yes at some point, you have more questions to answer and justification to give within the proposal. Once the proposal have been scientifically evaluated, they are on the main list or on the reserve list, they will go under an ethics screening by the Commission and ethic experts, where the expert will assess the level of ethical issues the project may raise. And if your project is flagged as raising serious or complex issues, the Commission will, the project proposal will go under a full ethic assessment by experts, where you may be asked to provide more detail or to, for instance, incorporate a work package dedicated to ethics or a board dedicated to ethics in your project and project management structure. And if the project raises serious complex issues, here and there you will have ethics reviews, checks, audits, depending of the severity, gravity, potential gravity of the issues that are raised. This is the way the ethics issues are targeted and are dealt with by the Commission on the proposal stage. So how can you deal with ethics at your level? You need to address it within the proposal and the project. First, you should really consider doing the ethics self-assessment thoroughly within the consortium, within the project design, and not just at the last minute. As we said earlier, we have seen some examples, for instance, in the misuse of potential project outcomes. You need to think outside of the box. You need to think really broadly and to on potential grave misuse or ethical concerns. If you go with doing an action that is raising issues, questionable issues and ethical questions, you need to have the approval from the legal authority, national legal authority, before doing the action. This approval, you will need it before the action starts and not at the proposal stage. So for instance, your project is funded, an ethical question action is to be carried during month 8, you would need this approval for month 8 and not at the proposal stage. So you would have a bit of time to work into having the approval. You may also think of having a specific ethic work package in your project if you see that you will deal with ethical questions. When you go under a full ethic assessment, so when the project is considered raising serious complex issues, it will be mandatory. But if the project is not considered raising serious questions, it is not mandatory, but you can think of having it. And normally it's the last work package within the projects where you check that everything is in order. You also have the possibility to appoint an independent ethic advisor or an ethic board to that will have an overview and that will guide you during the lifetime of the project. So on the takeaway, and I hope you understood it from the information so far, it's important for you to consider the ethical issues from the ideation process, from the proposal process, not last minute, not 5 minutes before hitting the submit button and sending out the proposal. It's something you really need to think well in advance. Refer to national, EU, international law and standards. National law is important, especially when you have your project will work with ethically questionable actions. Something that may be legal in one country is not in another, so you need to keep that in mind. It's important for you also to rely on the expert in your own organization. So if you have an ethic board, to consult with them when you are designing the project. Also, national contact point, we are here for that. So if you have questions, do not hesitate to contact us. There's also extensive guidance on ethics issues within Horizon Europe. We really strongly encourage you to have a look at them when you think of a project, when you design a project, to be sure that you are doing things according to the book. If the Commission will go and do an ethic assessment, full ethic assessment, start early gathering the information, keep all the information and documents you may have available to be shared straight away, directly. It's important for you to also be active and proactive, not wait for the Commission to ask for the document. Show your goodwill. It's really important. And you will have a project officer during the phase when there is, for instance, a full ethic assessment. If you have questions, if you face a delay because you cannot get your hands on the document, it's important to be transparent with the Commission on that. Yes, I think we have covered most of the point today. Here is the list, but you cannot access the link, so that's why there will be kind of a summary article on Lux Innovation website where you will have all the links you can click and access to the guidance. If you have questions, now is the time. I'm going to the question tab and I see if the slides will be made available. Well, the recording of this webinar is available with the link you have when you register, so you will have the slide that way. We do not provide the slide as extra PDF, for instance, but you will be able to see them through the recording and the video. It will be also, I think, available on YouTube at a later stage, so it's quite accessible. Then I don't know if you have other questions. We still have a bit of time. I'm going through the chat. And I see that lots of you also have answered the questions directly. I'll give you 2 more minutes for questions. And if not, so in case of independent ethics advisors, can the cost be covered by the project's budget? The independent ethics advisors are within the project. If you have a board, I will reply twofold. So if there's a full ethic assessment, it is done by the Commission, the cost, and it involves external experts to do the assessment. It's organized by the Commission and the costs are covered by the Commission. Within a project, if you would have independent ethics advisor, best would be to have them within a board, for instance. And in that case, usually it's something they offer as an in-kind contribution. But the way you organize your project budget is the way you do it yourself. I saw questions in the chat. Let me go back to it. On the Nagoya Protocol for use, plant or material. If you may, you have my email address. If you may send me maybe your questions by mail, and then we can have a more extensive chat about it. But the Nagoya protocols are they are international regulation, international law. So it's something you should keep in mind and consider complying to when you design your project. Katerina, about your question on the advisory board, if they can have a small budget in the project, this is the way you design your budget for a project as you want and as you can, also depending on the budget. I don't know if it's a recommendation to include later. Yes. Do you have any other questions or chat? I didn't go far away, but I don't see questions. So yes, you will find the links to the different guidance on luxinnovation.lu. Check in a few days, you will have them, so you can refer to them easily. With that, if you have questions at any time, do not hesitate to contact me. And with that, I wish you all a nice afternoon, and I hope you learned what you came to learn. And well, thank you for showing, and see you the next time, maybe.